Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Archana Sharma, and I'm the founder of Samvedna Care. Since our inception, we have been working extensively in promoting early detection and diagnosis of mental health issues. And our mission has been to encourage help-seeking behavior and reduce the stigma around mental health. Samvedna today is a leading technology-enabled organization providing expert-led mental health services for adults and senior citizens. Our technology-enabled care solutions are person-centric and they're evidence-based, uh, focusing on the overall well-being of individuals and their families. Welcome to this session on mental fitness. So why is it called mental fitness? Because we firmly believe that just like physical fitness is emphasized on, can we proactively talk about mental fitness and not look at it as something which is triggered by an event or an incident in our lives? And is there a way that we can develop coping strategies, practice well-being as a way of living, so that we are living happier, healthier, as well as we are able to spread emotional well-being in our ecosystem. So today I have with me a very distinguished and experienced clinical psychologist, Saumya Sharan. Saumya is a gold medalist in clinical psychology. She's an expert in mental wellness solutions for, especially for corporates and employees. And she has more than 8 years of experience. And Saumya has put together an excellent module today for everyone to take away in terms of working on their mental health fitness, not only in this session, but even post the session. And this session will be available on our YouTube channel as well. So welcome, Saumya. How are you doing today?
Hi, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm really excited to be here. And mental fitness is my passion, so I can just go on and on about mental fitness and what to do about it and just sensitize people around it. So I'm really happy to be here and talk about it today.
Great, great. So, Soumya, I'll hand it over to you. I'm here as your co-host and anchor. So, when you want me to run the poll, do let me know.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
over to you. Will you be able to share your presentation?
Yeah, I need the sharing rights.
Okay, just listen. Yeah, I've just given it to you. Yeah,
Yeah, got it. Okay.
all
All
right.
right. Uh, Thank you so much, ma'am, and welcome everyone. Before I go on to my presentation, I just feel I'd like to take a moment to congratulate everyone for attending this. Because it tells me that mental fitness means something to you. There is something about mental health, mental fitness, mental well-being that you would like to value, you'd like to at least know about, or you want to start your journey on. So, for that thought and on that note, I think very well done. That's already a good start. And today I am Saumya Sharan. I'm a clinical psychologist and I've been with Samvedna. And today I'm going to talk about what do we generally do about mental fitness. So there's a lot of talk around it. There is a lot of dialogue on mental fitness. We've started to see so many posts and so many things go up, especially on World Mental Health Day. But we don't want to keep it limited to just one day, of course, one day in the year. We wanted to become our way of life. We, as Archana ma'am very rightly said, that if we wanted to become a part of our life and incorporate it as part of our daily well-being routine. So on that note, I'd like to start today's presentation, and I will be taking you through different aspects of mental fitness, mental health, mental well-being. What do you need to know? What do you need to do about it? Where do you start really? What questions to ask yourself? Because it's very similar to your journey of physical fitness. As soon as we tell ourselves that today, I'm taking this resolve and I'm going to start something of my own or some journey of my own on physical fitness, the first thing we do is, if you've noticed, we ask ourselves questions. Where do I start? Do I start with my diet? Do I need to watch what I eat? Do I need to watch how much I sleep? Do I need to watch my what I eat? How much do I eat? Or when do I eat it? Do I need to watch my physical activity levels? So it's also about asking the right questions, because when you do that, you're able to get the answers that will drive you towards the steps that you need to take on this journey of your mental fitness. So without further ado, I will start sharing my screen. There's a presentation that I will be taking you through. The agenda will be explained in the presentation. Also, there will be different, very bite-sized strategies that you can incorporate in your daily life. Not to make it very complicated and not to make it something that you feel too overwhelmed to get into your everyday routine or everyday schedule, but something that you can start from anywhere. You don't need a particular ambience for that, and you don't need a lot of resources for that, but it still adds to your mental fitness. So that's what I will be talking about. I'll also be taking you through certain practices. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer that. So please put it in the chat section, or if you'd like to unmute yourself and probably Zoom raise your hand, as I call it, do that, and I'll be happy to answer it. Also, if we can do the questions towards the end so that the flow of the presentation is maintained, I think that will be great. So I'll just start sharing my screen and start taking you through the presentation for today's session, which is the mental fitness capsule, putting the missing pieces together. So if it was really a puzzle, which I sometimes feel it has become for us, because there's a lot of talk about the puzzle, but not much talk about how do you go about this puzzle, or if there are missing pieces, what do you do about it? How do you put them together? And who has the missing pieces, and where do you go for the right pieces? So on that note, I start the presentation. A little bit about what I'm going to be talking about today. So what is really mental fitness? How does it help? Why do we need to work upon it? Isn't physical fitness enough for our health and well-being and our daily life? So why also specifically or separately focus on your mental fitness? What is the mind body connection? Is there a science behind it? Are we talking from a space of just hypothesis and theories, or we're also talking from very strongly research backed studies that support that support your mind and body connection and what you can do about it to build upon it? How does mental fitness work? So, what are the exact steps you need to take to build your mental fitness, and steps that actually work and that you can start from now only? All right. So, let's break the ice, as I call it, the icebreaker. So, those of you who've joined in, thank you for joining in. Let's just start on a lighter note. I'd like to ask you this question. So, we've played our own versions of Never Have I Ever. And have you done it or have you not? But today, because we're talking about mental fitness and mental health and well-being, I'd like to throw this question upon all of you and ask you, what are some of the very stereotypical statements or stereotypical things that you have heard about mental fitness from the people around you? And it could be anyone. It could be family, friends, grandparents, or other generations. But what are some of the things that you've typically heard about it, especially when you start talking about this aspect? And I could give you some hints. For example, some things that I hear are, it's all in your head. There's nothing as a very concrete concept of mental fitness, or something like it's just your generation's adverse lifestyle that needs to be worked upon. There's nothing apart from that that needs to be done, or something like just get your routine in order and everything will fall into place. And we never had mental fitness and all of these things in our time, and we turned out fine. So what are some of the statements, some of the things that you have heard And please, if you would like, if you could share that with us, and we'll be happy to run through it and just understand how we've understood the narrative of mental fitness till now. So,
Hello. Hi, Saumya. I think we lost you. Can you hear Saumya? I think we lost her connection. We'll just check with her. In the meantime, I think it'll be nice if all of you can type in your comments. Never have I ever done what? Anybody wants to take the lead? Yeah, I think she dropped out. Mental issues are rich people's fad. Wonderful, wonderful. Anybody else? Yeah, so, Saumya is just joining back. Anybody else wants to share? It's a passing issue, it will fade away. Okay. Eventually. It's all in your head. I was just going to type this, Archana Judeja. I was just going to type this. Yes, very, very well said. You know, that's most of the time, that's what you hear. Okay. Anyone else wants to share?
Sometimes people say, oh, they need attention. That is why they are behaving like this, which is so common, especially in a school scenario or something.
Need attention. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So we are still waiting for Saumya to join. I think she had a power cut or something. What meanwhile, I think what I would like to just share with everybody is that, you know, at Samvedna, we have a tool which lets you do a self screening of your mental well-being. And I would recommend all of you to take a look at it whenever you have time. And there are self-assessments for your well-being, as well as if if you have a loved one who's going through caregiver stress, or if you have somebody who you think in your family probably is suffering from dementia, then you can definitely go and look up this URL. Hi, Saumya, you are back. So over to you. Can you hear us? Hello, Saumya?
yes, I'm back. I'm so sorry.
Okay, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great.
Am I audible? And
Yes, you are audible. And we also had a couple of people sharing their thoughts about your question, about your
okay.
asking question. So there was somebody who mentioned about mental issues are rich people's fad. Can you see the chat, Saumya?
Yeah, I think because I've joined again, so the chat has been refreshed.
Okay.
So
So yeah, so there are points like mental issues are for rich people. It's a passing issue, it will fade away. Somebody is saying it's all in your head.
okay,
And
yes.
saying because he needs attention, he or she needs attention, that's why they are behaving like that.
Yes, that's one of the most common ones, unfortunately, that if you need attention, is that's why you're behaving the way that you are.
Right.
Thank you so much for contributing. Anyone else, if you'd like to just let us know. So a lot of times people also say that, do you really have time for all of this? Do you have time for mental health issues? There's so much you have to do and so much you have to take care of in a day. So do you really think you have the time to go through all of this? So have you heard of these statements? Was the question. Never have I ever. Have you? Anyone else? Anyone else who'd like to just share those statements with us? Thank you so much to the ones who've shared. Anything else that you've heard? Something along the lines of, it's just physical health that matters. Nothing else matters. All of these are just very new fads that you've come up with. Anyone else? All right. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing. Yes, we've heard all of these statements, and unfortunately, we've heard quite a bit of them. But the good part is that we are now moving towards a journey. We are now moving towards a space where all of these things are being not just broken upon in terms of the older stereotypes or the stereotypes that we generally carry, but very newer, fresh aspects and perspectives and narratives are being added to it. And people are becoming very sensitized about their own mental health and mental fitness journey and wanting to do something about it. You being here today is proof of that. So we'll move ahead on this journey and we'll see what we can do as a community, as a group of people to work on our sense of mental fitness. But first of all, to understand what is really mental fitness. Well, as we talk about physical fitness, we generally say that it is keeping your body, it is keeping the different functions of your body in shape, in good, it's running well, it's smooth, it's not giving you trouble, it's making you feel satisfied, it's making you feel that sense of health. And it's not just the absence of, the definition of health says that it's not just the absence of a disease, or it's not just the absence of something that's not functioning well, but other added aspects, just like I spoke about physical fitness. Similarly, when we talk about mental fitness, we need to understand the most valuable resource that we have in terms of mental fitness is our brain. It's our brain that helps us to imagine, to create, to work, to learn, to memorize, to study, to focus, concentrate, and also to feel emotions and to make our choices that really impact the kind of life that we are going to live one day. So, I think one of the things that we need to understand about mental fitness is that it's about keeping your brain, it's about keeping your mental health and well being in good shape. When you are able to nourish your mind, you're able to give that replenishment, you're able to really give that resource, give that taking care, that self care to your mind, to your brain. Our mind is really the most valuable resource. A lot of times, what we've seen is we take a lot of time, we spend a lot of energy, effort, time, sometimes a lot of money also in taking to make sure that our clothes are okay, to make sure our cars are, sparkling, our shoes are in order, our face is looking the way that we'd like it to look, our hair is perfect. But when it comes to our mind, I'd like to ask you, and I'd like you to ask yourself, how many of us really take out even 2 minutes or 5 minutes in a day or sometime in a day to think and focus on what do I need to do in order to replenish my mind? What do I need to do to keep my mind in good shape, to keep my mind healthy, and to feel this sense of health and satisfaction when it comes to our mind. A lot of us do spend that time, some of us don't, and the reasons could be many. some of the reasons that include that there's not much awareness about it. So we don't really know what exactly to do in order to nourish our mind, in order to replenish our mind. Second could be that even if we do know that this is something that needs to be looked after, we don't know how to go about it. We don't know what really to do about it. What are the steps that we need to take? And third is there's too much. Sometimes there's less information. On the other hand, social media is giving us so many tips, so many strategies that we don't know where to start. When there's too much information, we don't know where to start. How much time is it going to take? Do we need to do it under someone's supervision? Can I start myself? Does it start with therapy? Do I need to get in touch with a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a therapist? So there's so many questions that come. So I think I'll also be happy to just answer those questions for you and give those clarifications so that when you are in a space where you have a sense of clarity, you'll be able to take those steps further for yourself. Another thing is when it comes to mental fitness, we need to improve it by giving the much needed nourishment, replenishment, almost like a food to our mind. And we need to do it by taking smaller baby steps every day, bite sized small steps every day, but we need to be consistent about it. You don't need to start spending half an hour or 1 hour right away. Even if you can start by a few minutes and start these healthy cognitive practices. Cognitive, the term to do with the mind, all of the functions that we have that we are able to use with the help of our mind, whether it's thinking, problem solving, feeling emotions, decision making, focusing, concentration, is what is summed up by the term cognitive. So we need to, just like, you go to the gym, just like you practice certain exercises at home to build that muscle, our brain is also that muscle that you need to keep in good shape and exercise regularly with some healthy cognitive practices. And one thing that I'd like to emphasize right here is you have a lot more control over your mental fitness than you think. A lot of times, now going back to this activity, never have I ever, a lot of people also say that, you've been blessed either with good mental fitness, good mental health, or not. So you're either happy. A lot of times we kind of also relate it to the happiness level that we have, how happy you are as a person, your measure of your measure of happiness. So what happens is you need to understand that there is much more control. Some people feel if they're going through mental health concerns, a lot of times, even in my practice, I see people coming in and people feeling that there's something inherently not right about the way they think, they feel, they behave, or they have their decision making skills or problem solving skills. So we need to understand that just like we have more control over different aspects of our health and well being in terms of physical fitness, it's similar in terms of mental fitness. It's not to do with your destiny, it's not to do with how you were born with. Of course, genetics play a role, but there's much more impact of, there is much more of how much control you can exercise over it with some very regular, consistent, healthy, bite sized practices that you are able to incorporate into your daily life. So, how does it help? Why do we need to have a separate, kind of time allotted or a separate aspect of our life focused on mental fitness and well being? Well, there are some very, of course, straightforward benefits of that. And we know that we feel happier, we feel calmer, we feel more peaceful. We feel more in control of how we're thinking, how we're feeling, how we're behaving. So let me ask you, how many of you, and you can just, give me a reaction on Zoom also. How many of you have been in situations where a lot of times it was an emotionally intense situation and you felt like at the end of it, you probably, you yelled or you raised your voice or you reacted in an intense manner. And at the end of it, you felt like, oh, you know what, I shouldn't have yelled, I shouldn't have reacted that way. And people ask you, then why did you react? And you end up saying, well, you know, it just happened so quickly, I felt like I had no control over it. Or it's like it was happening to me versus me being able to control it. So a lot of times this happens to us.
Soumya, do you want me to launch the poll for this?
Yes, yes. So now we'll move on to the poll question. So there will be a poll question which is related to this. Yes, the first poll question.
First one, sorry. Okay, sure. Yeah. Can everybody see the question?
We have this.
Can everybody see it?
Yeah, but we have the second one.
Okay, just a second.
So knowing that this will help you respond to situations, you'll be more present. There is better cognitive functioning. You're able to think, concentrate, better behave in a way that you would like. I'm presenting, so there is this poll question. Thank you, ma'am, for this, which says how much time, and I'd like all of you to take into account this question and answer as per um, your I mean authentic practice, which is how much time do you spend on your mental fitness on a weekly basis. So you need to choose one of these options: less than 1 hour, more than 1 hour, a few hours per week, or you're fairly regular with your mental fitness practices. So take your time and let me know which of these apply most easily or most clearly to your mental fitness practice and journey. How many of you really take out some time, even if it's a few minutes, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, and work on your mental fitness? Okay, so we have
43% are fairly regular.
okay, this is fantastic. 43% of people are fairly regular. There are 29% who spend a few hours per week. 14% spend more than 1 hour per week. 14% spend less than 1 hour. So I think this is an impressive turnout of the first question, and happy to hear that. Anyone who are in the 43% or 29%, if you'd like to share one thing that you do for your mental fitness on a regular basis. Any one of you would like to share what is something that you do on a regular basis for your mental fitness?
Am I audible, Soumya ma'am?
Yes, you're audible.
What I usually do is like for relaxation, I just sit in my balcony, and my balcony overlooks a lake, and I can see a lot of greenery and the sky. So be it the night sky or be it the afternoon sky, I like to sit there in quiet without any electronic gadgets there and just enjoy that. That's my idea of taking care of myself.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful and wonderful, and yes, very, very effective. Yes, just unplugging from your gadgets and trying to be in the present and trying to notice everything that's around you and just connect with nature. Thank you so much for sharing.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, what I do is I listen to the motivational speakers, on regular basis so that my thoughts are controlled. That is what I do for mental fitness.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. So yes, it sounds like you're very open to taking their insights and working on your mental fitness.
There are lots of them available on the net, and they are pretty good, Like there is Sister Shivani is there, it's very good, and then there is Sadhguru, and then there is Ravi Shankar. So I keep listening to them, and it really helps.
Okay, right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Right. I also have something on the chat section where I do crosswords on a daily basis. Yes, it's a part of your cognitive self-care to give that sense of stimulation to your brain. Thank you so much for sharing. Archana ma'am also has written about the quiet time that you regularly get into in order to work on your mental fitness. All right. So thank you again. Yes, I think we already have people. It's wonderful to see people who are already working on this journey, and I believe and I hope are able to see the benefits of it. The benefits, all of some of them among the so many benefits in front of you, just feeling more confident and a sense of optimism, feeling that your decision making, your problem solving is getting better, you're able to respond to situations in a way that you would like to, rather than feeling that it's something that's happened to you. Improved sleep, improved sense of cognitive functioning, amongst reduced mental health concerns, better pain management. So, amongst so many benefits, some of the benefits in front of you of really working on your mental fitness journey. But what do we really do about it? Now, before we go on to the steps that we need to take, we need to understand if there is a mind body connection and if there's really a science behind it. Well, let me tell you some very generalized statements that we hear in our everyday life, but haven't really paused to think about how does this make sense? And tell me if you're able to relate to this. I have grown up hearing a statement that people would around me would always say that don't get too angry. You're going to raise your blood pressure. इतना गुस्सा मत करो, BP बढ़ जाएगा. And I would just you would just take it as something that's of course everyone's saying, so it must mean something. But then you think about it that gussa or anger, don't get so angry, is more of an emotional health or mental health thing, and blood pressure is more of a physical health or a body thing. Then why are we talking about this in this manner? Is there really a connection? Or something like, you know what, I have my exam today and I was so nervous that I threw up in the morning. So nervousness, again, a mental health thing, throwing up, a physical health, a body thing. Anything else that you've heard from your end, which explains that there could be potentially a connection between the mind and the body? Anyone would like to share? Okay, no problem. Also, we've heard, very everyday aspects like, okay, there's something in the chat section, butterflies in my stomach. Yes, before something that's very nerve-wracking, we say things like, I can feel those butterflies in my stomach. And sometimes we don't even take the time to pause and think about why would someone say that? Or along the lines of, a clinical study says that while exercising, if you focus on particular muscle, it improves significantly. Okay, thank you for sharing. Yes, palpitation. Yes, sometimes when we get nervous or when we get edgy, we feel like, I think I'm having palpitations, which is more of a physical body thing, nervousness being a mind thing. Also, thank you for sharing the study, the insights of the study. Yes, there are. Now, let me tell you, there are so many research studies out there to prove that there is a very strong relationship and connection between the mind and the body. So if you take care of your mental health, it will also have significant impact on your body, and vice versa. If you take care of your physical health, it will have advantages for your mental health and well-being as well. But we need to take care of both too. So there are lots of studies to prove that the nervous system has a direct impact on your gut health, on your digestive system, on your endocrine system. on your hormonal aspects, on the reproductive system, on various other aspects of your functioning, body functioning, and well being. So it's very important to know and remember that we need to take care of both these aspects if we really need to look at a holistic focus, if we really need to focus holistically on the aspect of health and well being. Another thing is that, there are different parts of the brain, which there have been so many studies in neuroscience to tell us that there are different parts of the brain that get activated when we are indulging in some or the other, mental function or cognitive function. For example, one of the studies that I find really fascinating is what I call it: if you can name it, you can tame it. That if you are in touch with your feelings, and at any point, if you're able to check on your feelings and really identify what you're feeling and give a word to it, recognize it, then, for example, at this point, I am feeling nervous, I am feeling angry, then the part of the brain that has to do with the problem solving function gets activated, which means if you're able to identify and name your emotion, you're able to get a better insight into, okay, now that I'm feeling this, and or this is the situation that I'm in, what do I need to do about it? So that's what. So there is a very strong connection between the mind and the body. And if you really want to holistically focus on a sense of health and well-being, you need to focus on mental fitness as much as physical fitness. Moving on. So we've done the poll question. Now just understanding a little bit about our brain so that we're able to understand what to do about exercising this mental fitness and the power that we have over it. Human beings as species have survived over millions of years, and we've gone through so many transitions, so many changes like continental drifts, continental shifts. We've gone through pandemics. We're almost probably in the middle of one right now, or just getting out of one right now. We've gone through natural disasters, we've gone through man-made disasters, wild animals, so many changes, but we've survived. We've come out alive and we're thriving. Now, what's happened as a result is because of these changes, because of these transitions that we've gone through, the human brain has evolved for so many years and gone through so many transitions. As a result, we have evolved for survival. So our brain has been trained for survival, but not for happiness, not for a sense of mental fitness and well-being. So what's happened as a result is there is a part of the brain which gets very active when we sense that there is something dangerous or something threatening around us, which we also call the fight or flight response. It's in other terms, it's also called the lizard brain. So, well, all of us have that. What happens is that as human beings, if ever we're able to sense that there's something not right in our environment, there's something dangerous, something that could potentially hurt you, or something that could do you harm, this part of the brain gets activated very immediately. And it gets you into a space where you are ready to either fight or run for your life. A very clear example of this is, what if, right now you're sitting and there is a tiger that comes in front of you. So before you can, you can even talk about it, you can see yourself running for your life, because that's how the brain has prepared the muscles in the body. Adrenaline has been released, and that's how your muscles are prepared to run for your life. Now, what's happened? It's very useful to us because it helps us to survive, it helps us to avoid dangers. But the flip side is that it's overstimulated as human beings, because we lead such fast-paced lives, which is so full of so many changes and transitions and so many things happening. Technology overload. that we have a overstimulated, overactive fight or flight response. Now, as a result of this, our brain has also been biased towards catching more of negativity than positivity, or catching more of things that are not going well rather than things that are going well. So it's almost like a 3:1 ratio. So for every positive event, for every negative event, we need at least 3 positive events to negate the effect of it. So if you're wondering that why am I always focused on things that are not working, you're not alone. We're all doing this most of the time. We have a negativity bias. That's how the human brain has evolved over the years. Now, what do we do? Of course, it helps us to survive. It helps us to thrive as as the human race. But what has happened is, for us to be able to feel happier, for us to be able to feel mentally fit, we need to train our brain. We need to prioritize mental fitness, we need to prioritize happiness, and we need to train our brain for mental fitness and well being. And how do we do that? Well, there are some practices that we can adopt in our daily life. As I said, bite sized practices that we can adopt in our daily life to work on this aspect. Now, how does it work? I request everyone if you can please mute yourselves so that everyone's able to hear and look at the presentation properly. Please mute yourselves. Okay. Where do you start? Now, some very doable strategies to put the missing pieces together for your mental fitness. How does it work? You can start by something that you have with you, that you are always, that is with you all the time at any point, when you, as long as you're alive, which is your breath. Breathing right, checking your basics. How does it impact? Being present through the practice of mindfulness, practicing gratitude, and how does that change the way you look at the world, the way the way you look at your sense of well-being and self-care. Okay, so starting with breathing right. Now I'd like all of you to just do this small activity for me. I need you to take your hand, take the palm of your left hand or your right hand, and put one hand on your chest and put one hand on your belly, on your stomach. So put one hand on your chest and the other hand, the palm of the other hand, on your stomach or your belly. And now just breathe normally. You don't have to get into deep breathing. Just breathe normally and tell me which hand are you able to see moving more? The hand on your chest or the hand on your stomach or your belly? Which hand is moving more? Hand on the chest or hand on your belly? Anyone who'd like to answer? Or you can write in the chat section. Hand on the chest. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Belly. Okay. Belly. Anyone else? Belly. Okay. All right. So let me tell you why we did this activity. If the hand on your chest is moving, that means through normal breathing, that means you don't have to breathe deeply. I mean, you don't have to get into deep breathing right now. That means what you're practicing is not rhythmic or deep breathing. What you're practicing right now is shallow breathing. Not all of the organs in your body are able to get the benefits of your breath or your breathing. But if the hand on your belly or your stomach is moving, that means you are practicing what is called deep or rhythmic or healthy breathing, which means the different organs in your body are able to get the benefits of your breathing. So hand on the chest moving, Not deep, it is shallow breathing. Hand on the stomach or belly moving, it is deep breathing. All right. So what do we do about it? And how much of an impact does it have? Well, there are lots of studies again to tell us that if we're not breathing right, that has an impact on how we feel, how we think, our mental fitness, our energy, our focus, concentration, our sense of fitness and well-being. So what do we do about it? It's important to breathe in a healthy and rhythmic manner. So what do you do about it? How do you practice that? Well, in very simple terms, I'll share it on the screen. Okay, the right way to breathe is, or what you can do is, you can start right away. What you have to do is, you have to know this sequence or remember this sequence of 4, 4, 6. 4, 4, 6. How does 4, 4, 6 play out in breathing? You have to inhale or breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds or for 4 counts. Hold for 4 seconds or 4 counts. And breathe out through your mouth for 6 seconds or 6 counts. Okay, so breathe in through your nose, inhale 4 seconds or 4 counts. Hold your breath 4 seconds or 4 counts and breathe out through your mouth for 6 seconds or 6 counts. And you have to do it for at least 1.5 minutes. So what you can do is every day, just take out these 1.5 minutes. You can do it as many times as you want. Or probably first check, are you breathing through your chest or through your stomach? Set the timer for 1.5 minutes and get into these cycles of 4, 4, 6. 4 seconds or 4 counts of inhale through your nose ideally. 4 counts or 4 seconds of holding your breath and 6 seconds or 6 counts of exhaling through your mouth. And remember, you need to do it every day, at least once, even if you're doing one whole cycle of 1.5 minutes. As many cycles in 1.5 minutes, it will help you build that rhythm of healthy or deep breathing. So practice is key here. You need to start, you can start your journey of mental fitness by breathing right. 4, 4, 6, which is the right way to breathe, or also called box breathing, where you're able to breathe in, hold your breath, and breathe out, and you're doing it at least for 1.5 minutes. So set your timer and you can start right away. Moving on, check your basics. So when I say check your basics, at any point, how you are feeling, the emotional state that you're in. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're irritable, maybe your mood is not something that you feel you are in, mood state is not something that you feel you are in generally. Whether you're feeling annoyed, more irritable, just check the basics. When I say basics, there are 4 aspects that you need to check: sleep, hydration, your diet or nutrition, and physical activity. So before jumping on to, is there something not right on the mental health or the physical health level, first ask yourself, have I been sleeping okay? And when I say sleeping okay, it must be at least 6 to 8 hours. Sleep which is not disturbed, you're able to sleep well, and you're able to you're able to follow certain practices called sleep hygiene practices, which means you're able to go to sleep by a particular time every day and wake up by a particular time every day, not feel too sluggish or too tired while waking up. You're not using your phone or any other gadget to get to sleep. You're using the bed mostly to sleep. You're not taking caffeine or other substances which keep you awake in the second half of the day. So ask yourself, am I sleeping well, especially in the past week? Next is hydration. Are you drinking enough glasses of water? Is it about at least 8 glasses of water every day? If not, you need to check on that and get that going and get that regularized and functioning smoothly. Third is your diet or nutrition. So, something which you can ask yourself, how are you feeling about the things that you're eating? Are you eating at least 3 meals at a particular time every day? Are you eating the things that are able to make you feel clean, healthy, and energetic? Or are you eating things that make you feel more sluggish, more tired, or less on energy? Are you able to eat things that make you feel satisfied or that make you feel like you've eaten a bit too much for that meal or that day? So that's nutrition or diet. And the last one is, are you giving yourself at least 30 minutes of physical movement or exercise every day? It doesn't have to be the gym. You can just do it at any time during the day or maybe in your house. You don't have to go anywhere for that. It's great if you can step out for physical activity. But physical activity of any form, whether it's walking, running, swimming, going to the gym, yoga, or giving yourself some fun dance some fun dance sessions every day. But you need to get your body moving and give yourself physical movement and activity at least 30 minutes, 4 to 5 days a week. So check your basics. Whenever you feel something's not going okay, check with yourself. Am I sleeping okay? Hydration, diet and nutrition, and physical activity. Right? So that is also a place where you can start your mental fitness journey. It's not as tough as we sometimes think it is. Sometimes you just need to keep your basics in check. Okay, moving on. The practice of being present, or the practice of what I call, or what we know being present as mindfulness. Now, a lot of times there is this study, if you can see, it's called The Mind Has a Mind of Its Own. Well, what happens is there is a study that was done by Howard University, and according to this study, if you would believe, 47% of the time during the day, our minds are lost in thought. Our minds are not present where our physical body is present. So our mind is wandering. Imagine, we're not here for a very long time. And even in that time, every day, almost half of the time, our minds are not present where they need to be. And that is something, according to research, which is leading to a lot of unhappiness and stress and adverse impact on mental fitness for us. So, what do we do about it? Well, there is a very practical, doable, research backed, scientific way of dealing with mind wandering or our mind not being present, which is called the practice of mindfulness. So, what you have to do is, in very simple terms, you have to bring your focus to the present moment and do it willingly. So, how do you bring your focus to the present moment? Well, for beginners, you use any one of your sensory functions. So, we have our different senses like our sense of sight, our sense of hearing. So, use any one of your sensory functions as an anchor to keep you grounded in the present moment. So, for example, in this moment, if I want to keep my attention to the present moment, what are some of the sounds that I can hear in the present moment? So, I would like to focus on these sounds because the sounds then become my anchor to the present moment. Now, when I'm focusing on these sounds, will I get distracted? Yes, it's very natural and human to get distracted. We will all get distracted, but don't get startled. It happens, it builds up with practice. As soon as you get distracted, ask yourself, where is my focus? Where does it need to be? Bring your focus back to the anchor, which is the sounds, and then keep focusing on the sounds willingly. You can also do it with your breath, then it becomes mindful breathing. You can do it with the sounds, then it becomes mindful listening. If you do it by touching something and feeling the texture, it becomes mindful touching. If you're looking at something and noticing the different features, like you're connecting with nature and looking at the trees, looking at the greenery, the sky, it's mindful seeing. So, this is how we train our mind to be in the present. It is like exercise for the brain. And also, you can do it at any time during the day. And even if you're doing it for a minute to begin with, that's a good start. So remember, I gave you that example that a lot of times we get into certain situations, emotionally intense situations, where we don't want to yell, we don't want to react intensely, but we end up doing so anyways. And then someone asks us, why did you yell? And we end up saying, well, I didn't have the chance to look at my reaction. I didn't get the time to look at my reaction. Well, mindfulness practice is something that will give you that much needed chance, that much needed pause, time and space between what happens, the stimulus, and how you respond to it. So it has a lot of benefits, especially the benefit of making your choices wisely in your everyday life, which will ultimately impact the way you lead your life. These are some of the strategies that I'd like to share with you to start with the mindfulness practice in your daily life when you want to start on your mental fitness journey. So, drinking your first cup of coffee or tea and noticing it, the first breath of fresh air when you step out every day. Even if you start with 2 minutes, it's good enough. When you wash your hands, noticing the sensation of water on your hands. So all of these things are something that will help you in build that daily practice of mindfulness. All right. Now moving on, what were the other things that you can use to build healthier cognitive practices in your mental fitness journey? Gratitude. There's so much that happens every day which we're not okay with, which we complain about, which impacts our mood, which makes us feel like, is this life really, something that makes me feel good every day? But there are so many aspects of our daily life that go unnoticed, which we need to be mindful about and take notice of and acknowledge and be thankful of. If we really want to shift our focus from the negativity bias onto a space where we are more optimistic about things, onto a space where we're also able to understand that even if a lot of things are not going okay, there are still certain things that are working out. So, also to shift our focus onto a sense of optimism and positivity, which is called the practice of gratitude. Maybe it was one of the most difficult days of your life. Maybe nothing went according to how you had planned it. But you came back to your warm bed at night and you slept uh, through it, or you were able to get that much needed rest. Or on a really hot day, that glass of cold water that gave you a sense of relief even for a minute. So anything that you're thankful about or you want to uh, be grateful for today, please feel free to share in the chat section, and we'll all be happy to go through that and take it up. So one of the things is make it a habit every day to include gratitude practice. Maybe before sleeping or at the end of the day or any time during the day, ask yourself what was something or someone that made my life easier, happier, more comfortable, more relaxed, or just slightly better in some way, even in the midst of so much chaos or so much difficulty. And just practice gratitude. Now, another thing is self care. When talking about self care, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when we talk about self care? Would anyone like to share? What's the first thing? I know we associate different things with self care, but what's the first thing that you can think of when we talk about self care? Hygiene. Okay, yes. Hygiene is something that we need to understand is a very deep and important part of of us caring for ourselves. Anyone else? Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Taking care of our health. Yes, definitely. Taking care of our health, going deeper, and not just our routine, sticking to our routine. Absolutely. You know, when we talk about caring for the self or self care, remember tiny actions lead to big rewards. It's a state of well being that you experience, and you have to give yourself not as a reward at the end of a long working day or a long very hard week. It is the necessary maintenance that you give to your mind, to your body, to your sense of physical health, mental health, emotional health, social health at different levels. So it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect or elaborate. You can choose any activity, and not because you're particularly good at it, but because it just simply makes you feel centered or happier. And remember, in self care, also, consistency is key. A little bit of love and attention for your mind and your body is never selfish. So try not to fall down the guilt hole. It's it has to be something just like anything else. It has to be a way of life and not a reward after a long, stressful day. So caring for the self is the necessary maintenance that you give to yourself. And also remember, life can seem to catch up sometimes. So allow yourself to be not be burdened by this practice. Now, I'm going to tell you something about self care. Self care is basically made up of 5 practices that we need to do on a regular level: physical, social, emotional, practical, and cognitive. Let's go over each of them briefly. Physical self care is when you're taking care of your body, when you're giving your body enough sleep, hydration, nutritious diet, rest, and physical activity, and also listening to your body. So let's say after a long day, if your body says, well, I need rest, you listen to your body. That's physical self care. Then is social self care. Social self care is when you're also reaching out to people in the social world apart from the people you regularly meet or live with. So, for example, you're just taking a walk down in your neighborhood and just greeting someone, or passing that smile to your neighbor, or just going down to the closest grocery store, or just greeting the guard, which is close to where you live. So this is also reaching out to someone in the social world on a regular basis, and these are not just people who you live with or who you work with. It also has to be people who live around you. Going to a park and maybe not talking to anyone, but just being around people on a regular basis. That's social self care. Emotional self care is when you give yourself the opportunity and space to process your emotions and also express your emotions on a daily basis. It could be with a person, could be with your partner, your friend, your parents, your family member, a colleague, or even in a journal. So you're giving yourself that space on a regular basis where you're talking about what happened, how did it make you feel, what did you need in that moment. Okay, so that's emotional. Practical self-care involves things that we generally run away from but are important for us. For example, sticking to your routine, as Archana ma'am mentioned very rightly, or it is making your to-do list, or it is cleaning up your workspace, it is organizing your drawer, it is working on your budget. That's practical self-care. Taking care of your hygiene, right? All right. And the last one is cognitive self-care. So, as someone had mentioned in the comment section, doing crosswords. So, something that you can do on a regular basis to keep your brain stimulated and feeling like there's a sense of challenge. It could be through art, it could be puzzles, it could be riddles, Sudoku, reading, anything that makes you feel like your mind felt stimulated and felt like there was a sense of challenge. So, crosswords, puzzles, all of these. So, 5 kinds of self care that you need to get into. I will not say indulge into because it's not a luxury. Get into on a daily basis. And finally, more steps that work. Understand these are individual approaches. There will not be a one size fits all approach. If you're able to probably start with breathing practice and gratitude, and you feel that's a good start, well, great, but you need to be consistent with it. If you're a cup and you give out of your cup every day to your family, to your work, to your health, to your children, remember you also need to fill that cup for yourself, and you're the one who's going to do it. So fill your cup with these practices of emotional well-being, self-care, nourishment, nourishing your mind. Remember, the most powerful thing that we have is the power of the present moment. So there is nothing like mindfulness practice. Nourishing your mind through practices like gratitude, self-care, breathing right, journaling, giving yourself that reflective space every day to write about what you went through, what you needed, to reflect upon your feelings, your thoughts, is also nourishment for your mind. And before I sum up today's presentation, remember there's already so much that we've gone through. There's so much talk, there's so much dialogue. We're already looking at so many mental health concerns all around us. What are we waiting for? What would need to happen for us to really start on this journey? So, what are you waiting for? Start on your journey of mental fitness right away. There isn't going to be the best time. The feeling that you're waiting for, that I'll start when I feel like it, is not going to come. You need to take the action first, build the momentum, and the feeling will follow. So, we discussed a lot of strategies to work on our mental fitness. And with this, I come to the end of today's presentation on putting the missing pieces of mental fitness together through breathing right, the 4-4-6 technique, working on the 5 types of self-care: physical, emotional, social, cognitive, practical, practicing gratitude, giving yourself the reflective space through journaling, and being mindful and present by using your senses. So this is how you train your brain, you train your mind, you nourish your mind for a journey towards holistic health, for a journey of fitness. Thank you so much for being so mindful and present. And I think we're ready for the next poll question of today.
Yes, Saumya. I thought I'll just launch it because I know we are running completely out of time. And so I think it was an excellent session. You talked about so many things. One of the things which really struck me was that for one bad event, you need to have three happy events in your life to negate it, which is so powerful. You talked about box breathing, sleep hygiene, as well as hydration, diet, and physical fitness. So, it's amazing to see how mental fitness is so related, with your physical fitness. And, I think a lot of us, if we are already focusing on some of these things, we are on a self-care journey. And we need to bring in definitely mindfulness. So, that's something which you have spoken about, you have demonstrated, and I'm sure we'll have more of these sessions, to talk in more detail about different techniques. I would, is the poll visible to everybody? Is everybody able to see the poll or no? No. Okay. Oh, I thought I had launched it, and for some reason, so maybe maybe everybody could just, I think there's some challenge in relaunching the poll, but the question was really about, after this insight, how many of you are going to be willing to spend time on your mental fitness? Is it going to be 5 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour, or not sure? So if people can type in their responses, that would be really great. So would you be willing to spend 5 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour on your mental fitness? May I request everybody to type in your responses in the chat? If there is anybody, 1 hour, wonderful, Neeta, 30 minutes, excellent, excellent, great. So for those of us who are still sitting on the fence, I think Saumya's session was excellent. It will be available on our YouTube channel as well. We'll be putting it up, and we'll also share it on email with you. So I also wanted to just share very briefly that the Samvedna app, which is I've got the right URL here. It has some excellent self-care tips, which, it's a daily nudge for you to look at all the 5 aspects of self-care, which Saumya spoke about. This has been designed by our expert team of clinical psychologists, the tool. So I would suggest that you please go and sign up there and, to do a self-assessment and start your self-care journey with Samvedna map. I'm sure you will find the activities very, very curated, and very some things you may not even think of, because there's a lot of thoughtfulness which has been put into that. So do take a look at it whenever you have time. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Saumya, for this wonderful session. And I would like to wish everybody a very happy Diwali for you and your loved ones. And stay blessed, stay safe. I know there's a lot of pollution out there in Delhi, so be conscious about that and take care of yourself. Thank you, Saumya. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, and wishing you a very happy and safe Diwali.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.